2 million pounds was the cost of establishing an industrial complex dedicated to SMEs. Moreover, 104 million pounds were spent on establishing an investor service center in 2019. As for agriculture, Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli highlighted that Minya houses more than 500,000 fedans of agricultural lands. Of those, almost 250,000 fedans have been cultivated with wheat in the current season. On the developmental level, the government spent £2.1 billion on developing the healthcare sector in Minya. Speaking of housing, Minya was declared slum-free in 2021 as 3 alternative housing projects were built at a cost worth £999 million. With regards to education, 9 schools were added to Minya University between 2014 and 2022. On the level of monetary subsidies, 399,000 Minya dwellers are enrolled in Takaful and Karama.
We're now delighted to be joined over the telephone by our guest this afternoon, Engineer Mustafa Nagari, the Deputy Chairman of the Egyptian Exporters Association. A very good afternoon to you, Engineer Mustafa.
Good afternoon.
Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. So let me start by asking you about, the state that has paid a lot of attention to Upper Egypt. What are some of the most important areas in which the state has started working and continues to work in Upper Egypt, sir?
I think since 2014, Upper Egypt have been one of the main areas that should be improved, and I can tell that the total financial investment of about 143 billion pounds for Alminia Governorate only, and it was in several fields that affecting the social and economical living level of the people.
Yes.
So we can see that solidarity programs and services have been offered. Schools and the high educational projects have been also launched. Medicare services and the financial aid to families also were taking place. And about 725 projects were launched between 2014 until 2022, and about 225 SMEs financial programs were offered, 225 water treatment projects, and another 275 water waste projects. So and also in the agriculture sector, we have about 1 million fedan which was reclaimed in Upper Egypt. And of course, we can see that always the influence of the government and His Excellency Fattah Sisi is targeting the social and the economical life of the people in Upper Egypt.
Yes, indeed. We've just seen President Abdel Fattah Sisi's recent visit and his inauguration of several projects in Minya Governorate. What are some of the most important projects inaugurated by the President, sir?
First of all, of course, we have to point for New Minya city, which about 24,000 residential units were launched, and also there is a public university and a school of science and technology also were launched, and of course there is improving and upgrading of more than 200 villages which needed first to improve the infrastructure from the roads and the bridges and all, giving a better life for the people of Alminia mainly. Minya, we consider it as the bride of Upper Egypt, if we call it in Egypt.
In Egypt, yes.
And it is in the middle of Upper Egypt, so it is only about 140 kilometers from Beni Suef and about only 100 kilometers from Asyut. And that's why most people of Beni Suef and Asyut are also benefiting from such improvement which we see nowadays in Alminia.
Absolutely. Let me ask you, sir, a very unique thing to the governorate of Minya is it has been declared free of slums, which is a very important achievement, especially for this area in Upper Egypt. How do you see the state's efforts in reaching a governorate that has been declared free of informal housing and settlements?
We can say that for decades, Upper Egypt was out of, the programs of improvement and development in the country. And really, we see that the living level of the people of Upper Egypt is lower than the people in the Delta or in the seaside cities. So that's why we see that such movement will increase the ability for production for the people of Upper Egypt, which we believe that a governorate like El Minya, let us say, is mainly agriculture governorate, if we can say.
Yes.
And they are focusing on strategic crops, which Egypt is also in need for it, such like the wheat, such like sugarcane, cotton, onion. So linking Upper Egypt with by roads to the ports of Red Sea, let us say, if we are connecting Kenya to Hurghada, which is giving a new trade road for these people to increase their productivity and to increase their competitiveness.
Indeed. Right. Finally, one final question, if I may, Engineer Mustafa. We've seen, the Decent Life Initiative really changing the situation in Upper Egypt. How do you see the role of this initiative, and what are, in your opinion, some of the most important potentials of Upper Egypt, that qualifies them for the continued sustainable development?
Well, let me tell you that, of course, as we have read about the initiative of Haya Karima and the Camel and Karama, which is trying to assist the poor people, the poor strip of society in Upper Egypt, is just to try to decrease the inflation which is affecting this society. But on the other hand, we always say that in Upper Egypt, there is always a good potential, because they are able to increase their agri-land and the industrial zones, and that's why this will create better job opportunities for all of them. And we really believe that Delta has taken a very good care at the last decades, and that's why productivity of the Delta is higher than Upper Egypt. So it's now around that the productivity in the industrial zones and in the agriculture will give a very good chance for Egypt to close the gap between the demand and the supply in the food, especially everybody is talking nowadays about the food safety. So I think that there is a very good chance for Upper Egypt farmers and in the industrial zones, like the food industry, they are increasing day by day.
Absolutely. I'd like to thank you very, very much, Engineer Mustafa Nagari, our economic expert. Thank you so much, sir, for your time and your insight, and for joining us on today's episode of Cairo Local Time. Ladies and gentlemen, a short break, and we'll be back to continue. Do stay tuned.